start is understanding that in Ayurveda, they break everything down into the 5 elements, which Chinese medicine does as well. And the 5 elements are ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, you honestly don't need to go read a big book about this to understand what those elements are. You just have to feel into them. And I think it's much more empowering and impactful if we approach this Ayurvedic theory and this 5 element theory in that way. Understanding that the 5 elements are in everything, that includes us, everything we eat, in our environment. And because of that, just by living, we have a sense of what they are. And it's this sense or the qualities of each of these elements that becomes most informative for us to use in a way to create balance in our life. So let's just stop a moment and think about those 5 elements and think about their qualities. So the first one is ether. Sometimes it's also called space because what it refers to is the cosmos, the vast cosmos out there, spaciousness, emptiness. And we want to think about the quality of it. And it's not heavy, is it? It's not dense. It's not hot. No, not at all. If you think about the cosmos, you think of empty, kind of cold space, lightness. So get into that, feel that, yeah? And then the next element is air. So ether is truly meaning emptiness, nothingness, space. And the first manifestation into form is air. But it's the most subtle manifestation into form. Air is light. It's cool. It's drying, right? If we want to hang our clothes out to dry, we put them outside and hope for a breeze. Or if we've got a hot mug of something and we want to cool it down, we blow on it. So, you don't need to think too hard. It's pretty intuitive. You just think, oh yeah, when it's a windy day, are things stable? Are things steady? Are things solid? No, everything is blowing all over the place. It's constantly moving. So this quality of air is very much about movement and change, dryness, and cold. That's what you want to be thinking, air. Ether, air, fire is the next, a little bit more dense manifestation into form. It's a bit stronger and more potent than air, but it's still movable, isn't it? And it's still light. It's not dense, it's not solid, it's not heavy. Fire is, of course, the most obvious quality, hot, and heat is penetrating. If we think about if going into a sauna and we can feel that heat penetrate deep into us, or setting a hot rice bag on our shoulders, it penetrates into our muscles, or cooking a loaf of bread, it penetrates, or anything we cook, it penetrates to the center of it. And if we look at cooking, it's changing. It's transforming that which we're cooking. So one of the qualities of fire is transformation. And heat is shifting things. And it happens in our body too. And in Ayurveda, we look at our digestive capacity as a fire, which we'll get much more in depth into later in the program. But that fire, it's called Agni, is transforming everything that we put in our mouth. So heat and fire, with the element fire, think transformation, think sharp, it can burn, it's penetrating. And in people, it shows up as like aggravation and anger and fieriness. If we go back to air, air shows up in people more as lightiness. We kind of say, oh, she's a bit of an airhead. Well, we say it for a reason. Listen to the way you speak, and you'll be surprised at how often you hear yourself using elements as descriptive words for people and for situations. Ugh, that was a really heavy situation. That's more of the earth quality, right? So ether, air, fire, or water quality. Water, what is water? Is water light? No, it's heavy. If you've ever had to carry a bucket of water, you know that it's heavy. And I always am just amazed at all the women in India and Africa and around the world that carry huge things of water on their head. Water is heavy, and water is more dense than fire, but it's also quite movable, isn't it? It's quite fluid and flowing. We can put our hand through it. We can pour it into different containers and it changes shape. So it's flexible, it's movable. But even while it's flexible and movable, it's the word that they most often use in Ayurvedic texts is cohesive. And so if you've ever had a puddle of water on a table and you can take a finger and draw it across the table and it stays stuck together and you draw that water out. So water sticks together, whereas the movement of air and fire is quite dispersive. It's separating. Water is cohesive. If you add water to flour, it makes it stick together. It turns into a dough. If you add water to dry soil, it makes it mud. It makes it sticky. So water shows up in our body as mucus, as this thing that keeps us cohesive and supple, and our skin starts to crack when we don't have enough hydration, enough water in us. So with water, think about stickiness or cohesion, think about a heaviness, and think about a fluidity to water as qualities. And then the final element is earth. And of course, earth is the most dense. It's heavy, it's stones, it's rocks, it's solid, it's stable. Right? We're not going to build a foundation on sand. No, we want to build it on solid, stable earth. And we want things to be heavy sometimes. And so when we also think about heaviness and density in a stone, we mostly think about the temperature of cool or cold as well. So think about the temperatures, think about the qualities of heavy to light. Think about all of these things when you're thinking about the elements, and it's quite intuitive. You don't have to go read tons of books on it really to just drop into it at this level, and that's the level I want you to begin, because once you do that, then you can use it in your life and make it really practical. So one of the main principles in Ayurveda that we look at is like increases like, and opposites balance. So if I'm hot and it's a hot day and I go do hot exercise and then I drink a coffee, which any stimulant is considered fire, right? It's heat building. I am going to burn up, get aggravated, feel like flustered or out of control, angry, impatient, all of these fire qualities, right? We can see it's just like burning up fire, and you might be going, oh yes, I've been there before. And if you're a person that has a lot of fire in your constitution, then you'll really be going, yes, I understand. And so if we just keep adding more and more fiery type of things to an already fiery situation, we're going to get further and further and further off balance. Whereas if we go, I feel out of balance right now, and we ask ourselves a very simple question, that is, what are the elements or qualities of my imbalance? Then we can start to think about what the opposite is and start bringing the opposite in to find balance. Oh.